Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the JCon Real Estate 4th Annual Real Estate Summit. You're one of the early ones to come, so it's going to get packed, so I'm happy that everyone found a seat, and we even have a few extras. I was also told by the weatherman that by the time you get out to the patio and enjoy the food, the sun will subside, so you'll be able to enjoy that part of the evening as well. We're starting a few minutes late, so I want to get right to it. I want to welcome you, and after this seminar, there's going to be a keynote speech in the main ballroom with Ralph Hertzka, the CEO of Meridian Capital Group. And afterwards, everyone is going to head onto the patio where you'll have dinner, networking. There'll be 15 tables set up with speed mentors, so you can choose the speed mentor that you'd like to visit. And of course, there'll be amazing food and wine bar and sushi bars and much more. Don't forget, there's also one of our vendors who is measuring for free custom dress shirts. So make sure to get your self-measured for a free dress shirt. Today's seminar is, the topic is the listing secrets, and we have a fantastic speaker doing the presentation. David Schechtman is a senior executive managing director at Meridian Capital. His reputation precedes him, but without any further ado, David.
Real estate people are so insecure. Senior executive managing director. Okay, we'll go with that. Can everybody hear me? You can hear me? Good. Let's not fall asleep. Let's make this a very active session. And I'm going to keep it a little bit short so we can all get outside and start schwitzing in the sun. It's always good to know the audience with whom you're speaking, so I need a little participation. Who's a real estate broker here? Who's an owner? All right, I'll see you guys after. But okay, brokers, owners. Anybody else a mortgage broker or a broker of any type? What's that? All right. Shocker. The Yids are from Meridian. Okay. So, listing secrets is a great, name for a topic. But what I want to get into is what's happening in the market today and how do we as brokers and how do we as owners make money? Because several weeks ago, we just suffered one of the greatest blows in the history of New York City when it comes to overreaching socialism and ill-advised, misguided legislation. So let me stay on the topic to start with, and I'm going to go very quickly, and then let's talk about what's really happening today and how, God willing, in the next couple of years, we're going to make money in New York City. So listing secrets. The truth is there are no secrets. My first day of law school in 2000, I walk in very nervous. I felt like my 6-year-old daughter. I had a shiny suit on. 20 years ago, you'd wear a suit to law school. And I get up there, and there's a federal judge. This guy felt like he was 9 feet tall, rest in peace, Judge Platt. And he looks at us, and I was thinking to myself, all right, here it comes. Look left, look right. One of these guys isn't going to be there with you when you graduate. I was waiting for the canned speech. But the judge said to us, look, you're all going to be lawyers, hopefully, and you're going to be in front of a judge asking for something. It's no different than being a broker. Even the great Ralph Hertzka admits we're all brokers, even the owners. We're always asking for something. So the judge said, I want one line to resonate with you throughout law school and your professional careers. And I'm sitting there with a pen and paper, and he looks at me. Goyish guy, he looks at me, he says, Schmuck, put down the pen. I swear to you. So I put down the pen, and I'm already thinking, I'm going to fail out of this school. He says, here's the line. Don't annoy the mind you're trying to persuade. When you come before a judge, don't annoy the mind you're trying to persuade. Fast forward 20 years. What does that line mean, Aaron Birnbaum? Don't annoy the mind you're trying to persuade. We brokers, what are we generally tasked with doing? Unlike other salespeople, if you're selling shoes, if you're selling cars, you could turn behind you, and there are the shoes that you're selling. There are the cars that you're selling. You already have the product. You're really a salesperson. Oh, you want to buy this? It's on the shelf. As real estate brokers, I know I spend almost 60% of my time first asking people to give me the product. That's 60% of the battle for me. Now I have the product, now I need to sell it. So 60% of the time, in theory, I'm making cold calls. I'm knocking on a door, whether I'm walking down Rodney Street or Broadway in Williamsburg, or whether I'm going to Round Hill Road in Greenwich, or flying to Texas to ask Lone Star Funds to give me an assignment. Most of my time is going up to people to whom I want to persuade. And what do I want to persuade them? Give me something to sell. I'll get you the highest price. But we, as brokers, and I dare say as Yidden, mostly from Brooklyn and Queens and Jersey and Lakewood and Muncie, we're very aggressive, right? Because we don't have all the time in the world for Parnas, so we're doing other things. It's all about getting the listing. So we know, especially with my Lubavitch partner, we call somebody on the phone, they don't answer. We don't leave messages. We call them right back, right? That's what we do with our cell phones. That's what we're used to doing. Wrong. Getting a listing means having data. Has anybody here, and some of you won't admit it, but I know you have, has anybody here ever seen the original movie Wall Street? Okay, with Michael Douglas and is it Charlie Sheen? There was a very famous, you've seen it? It's before your time, and I know also you didn't get a drink earlier and you were looking for one. There was a point in the movie where Michael Douglas is a big macher on Wall Street, and a junior guy comes to him and says, I want to work for you. He brings him cigars. He sends him gifts. And the guy says, look, you got 2 minutes. What do you got for me? Thanks for the cigars. I don't know if you know this, I'm a billionaire. Just like owners. Okay, great. You sold 6 buildings. What do you have for me? And he said, I'm going to work hard. And Michael Douglas said to him, everybody works hard, just like real estate. Nothing distinguishes us. In this city, we wake up, we work, we fall asleep, we're working. What Michael Douglas said in the movie Wall Street was information. Bring me data nobody else has. That resonated with me. So I coupled bring me data that nobody else has with don't annoy the mind you're trying to persuade. So when I was a neophyte, when I was a very junior person, I'd call people up and say, hi, Mrs. Schwartz, I know you're not a seller. I know you get a million calls from brokers. I just want to call you. I want to come by and shake your hand or do this if you're from. I want to say hello, but I want to tell you what's happening on your block that you may not know about. And the immediate response was, I know Hertzka, I know Bob Knackel, I don't need another 30-year-old, mediocre-looking Jewish guy who uses some Yiddish from time to time and is a slick willy. I don't need you coming into my office, because at the end of the day, all you're going to ask me to do is sell. So for the first 2 years of my career, I never asked for anything. I didn't ask for anything. I must have had 1,000 meetings, excruciating. My wife was thrilled while she supported me for the first 24 months of my career. Thrilled. How was your day, David? Well, I had 6 meetings today. Great. Any listings, anything we can convert on? No, but I made some great relationships. My wife rolled her eyes, and all I could hear in her head was, wow, I really married a winner here. I would go and I would meet people, and I would sit down, and let me give you a for instance, and I don't mind using real names because you can ask them. I got Joel Wiener on the phone. Maybe I was 10 months into the business. What do you want? I know Eastern Consolidated, my first firm. Listen, Mr. Wiener, I know you're a real guy. I know you're a busy guy. I've done a ton of research. I've taken 15 of your bills. I'm not a seller, Schechtman. Bring me something to buy. Bring me a Metzia. You know what a Metzia is? Yeah, man, I grew up in Canarsie. Relax, even though I live in... I know what a Metzia is. Mr. Wiener, I insist I come to your office. I want to tell you 10 things. I went into his office with a map, and I showed him 7 or 8 buildings that were being sold in and around him, the prices and the metrics. He called in 2 of his guys. He did one of these. What? You didn't know that this was happening? I said, Mr. Wiener, I work 24/6. I'm with a firm that does billions of business. I want to fill you up with information, and I want to start off by knowing, what do you want to do this year? What do I want, Schechtman? I want a 9 cap. It's 2,000. I want a 9 cap. Bring me a Mitsia. I'll pay you a huge fee. Done. What do you want to buy? Name a neighborhood. I know all 200, 300 of your buildings. For the first 2 years of my career, all I did was give. That's it. It was very painful for people to say to me, I started in 2005. By 2006, people were calling me back. Schechtman. Yeah, Mr. Weiner. Listen, give me an opinion of value. I'm going to you, I'm going to Knackle, I'm going to 2 other guys. I want to know what it's about. And I'd come in with an opinion of value, but I gave 3 numbers. We do these 20, 30-page opinions of value. Really, when you read an opinion of value, what is it about? It's about the 1 page, tachlis. Here's the number I guarantee you I can get if you hire me. Here's the number, if that's my wife, tell her it's about 2.5 hours. Here's the number I guarantee you I can get. Here's the number I think I can get, and I want a high 5. And here's the number that if I get, I want a bonus. He looks at it, goes, this I have already. This is what I want to hit. He says, you hit this, I'll pay you an extra 50 grand. And I'm using it for example. Actually, Joel has never hired me, but you're hired. You are a service provider as a broker. And my dear friend Jeffrey Shalom is here. Jeffrey looks like he's 40, but you've been doing this for how many years? Right. So Jeffrey's been doing it for 30 plus years. He was at Massey when it was Massey, and you're at JLL now? Never heard of it. Jeffrey's at Cushman. Jeffrey has been giving data for years and years. As you start to get gray hair like us, you get to a point in your career where somebody calls you and says, Schechtman, can you get me $38 million for this? And in your heart, you're thinking, man, I want this listing. I want to put my name on it. I want to put it in the real deal. I want to blast it out so that everybody else knows, look at me, I've got listings. The smartest thing on earth to do is say no. The answer is no. We have new rent laws. You're borrowing from Meridian at 3.8 to 4.1%. I can't get you a 3.5 cap for a walk-up on Myrtle Avenue that's all rent stabilized. And I said no a ton in the beginning of my career. And it was excruciating because all I wanted was a listing. I wanted a listing so I can call up other people to say, and I happen to be selling a building down the block. I'm asking 38. And they'd say, oh, send it to me. Schmuck, it's worth $22 million. Why would you even put your name on it? As service providers, we give data. We give the best information we can, but we don't put our name in lights. It's not about us. And for a guy who's wearing a shiny suit with tons of product in his hair, who's all about himself, this is a very painful thing for us as service providers. So what are the keys? How do we get listings? How do we convert into money, especially these days? We are not salespeople. Salespeople are car salesmen, shoe salesmen. They have a warehouse with tons of product on the in stock. I think right now for the middle market at Meridian, which I run, I think we have about 1.17 billion in product on the shelf. Our realization rate in 2015 and 2016 was 96%. That's an astonishing number. To take in that product and convert on it is astonishing. I look skyward every day. Last year, our realization rate, and Ralph isn't here yet, so I can tell the truth, and I'm sure we'll keep it all in the room. Our realization rate last year was closer to 60%. So what do we do in a market that's changing? We walk in, we sit with people, they ask us what things are worth, and we tell them the unabashed truth. It's very painful, especially as a young broker. I blink, it was 14 years ago, I had 1 kid on the way. I had just built a new house. My wife was exhausted from supporting my brokerage. All I needed was listings. But even at that time, I said, I'm not the broker for you. Why? I like you. You're young. You're exceedingly good looking. Nobody ever said that. You're young. You're energetic. You're smart. You're a lawyer. I want to give you the listing. Mr. Weiner, it's worth 27. You're telling me you're not selling below 36? Hire Knackle. He loves listings. I'm about closings. I like closing dinners. So the takeaway from this is we as brokers, realization rate. Who's a broker over here? If I were to ask you, you can have 3 listings, each one is $100 million. You have a 33% chance of selling. You get 100 basis points for each one. That's $3 million. Whatever firm you're with, you're probably going to wind up with $1.5 million before tax. Or I can give you, but maybe you have a 30, 40% chance of selling it. Or you could walk in and you could say to somebody, I know this building. I'm going to get you 70. Well, I'm not selling below 70. I guarantee you I can get you 70 because I've already spoken with people and I have 82. I want a bonus above 75. I'd rather take that one deal, get 100 basis points, sell it, and then be able to announce to people, just so you know, I closed this down the block from you. What'd you get? Well, I got a 3.8 cap. That's more valuable. Brokers are a dime a dozen. When I first became a broker and I left law, I had some very senior people who I pulled strings, and I got to sit down with people the same caliber as the Aaron Birnbaums, the Ralph Hertzka. With my hat in hand, I said to them, what do I do? How do I differentiate myself? And Ralph's only response before I even met him, this is before I became a broker, 11 years before I joined Meridian, he said, be dead on accurate at all times. No schmaltz. No joking around. No, I'm going to get you the highest price because I work hard. Surgical precision. That's what's missing from the brokerage world. So we fast forward to today. We are in a declining market in the residential world. We have a state senator named Julia Salazar who stood up on public television and said, I'm very proud to be a Marxist. She took a deep breath. And then she said, and by the way, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that any human should own real estate. I think it belongs to the government. This is the new environment in which we're working. So I got a call 2.5 weeks ago from a woman in her 70s, from woman, Upper West Side. And she started, Schechtman, it's Elizabeth C. And I said, wow, Mrs. C, to what do I owe the honor? She immediately started, because she knew me, she said, all right, enough, and stop with the routine. Schechtman was selling. I said, I think you own over 1,000 units. She said, 1,182 units. I said, who's counting? She said, look, my grandfather started this business in 1917. We're done. We're done. I said, look, I'm not going to lie to you, Mrs. C. My heart's pounding out of my chest. We speak maybe once or twice a year. I'm not too pushy. And that's why I'm calling you, because you're not too pushy. You have a week. I want a broker opinion of value. And don't bullshit me. From woman. I said, I don't know how to end the call. She laughed. She said, you have a week. I'm sending you the data. She sent me the data. I gave a broker opinion of value on the first 3 buildings. Now, what Mrs. C doesn't know is 3 years ago, somebody was running around with these 3 buildings asking 40. Last Friday, about 2 hours before Shabbat, I'm in Colorado for an event with my son. We had a call scheduled. She says, all right, and don't be long-winded, Schechtman. I said, gun to my head, you're asking 30, maybe it trades at 25. Dead silence. Are you there? I'm there, David. What would it go for 2 years ago? I said, wow, what an astute observation. 2 years ago, I would have asked 40, it would have gone for 38. I would have asked you for 2 points and a bonus above double high because I know I would have sold it. And her response to me was, I figured I lost 50% of value. Send me the retainer, let's go. I said, I'm going to send you the retainer, and this is the point in the conversation where I should shut up, but I have to ask you something. 14 years I've been making cold calls to you. I know you've never sold a building. She says, we haven't sold a building since 1950. Something ridiculous. The usual. I said, what are we doing? She said, we're done. She said, but I'm holding you to these numbers. I said, good. I'm going in tomorrow. I'm signing the retainer agreement, God willing. I'm going to go sign the retainer agreement. I spoke with her accountants and everything. I said, why the hell did she choose me? I don't even think I followed up well. Every time she had some stupid event at the Upper West Side, I didn't even buy her table. I barely paid attention to her. And the accountant, who's been the accountant since 1546, the guy's pushing along in a walker, it's because you told her the truth. The truth will set you free as brokers. We are not salespeople. When we're doing deals, raise your hand if you've done a deal above $50 million. And there's no I in hurry. We're all in the same. Okay. How about a deal above $3 million? Right? When you buy a car for $50 or $60 or $70,000, you go online. How many people here have built a car online? Come on, there's a million Honda Odysseys and Siennas in this room. Let's be real. Okay, you can't have a drink later. There's always that guy. We all go online and we build a car. When you're selling an asset for $3 million, $4 million, $50, thank God, $212 million, there's a brochure. There's something you can look at. But it's got to be full of data, and you have to be accurate. Don't take listings for listings' sake. Don't take volume. Don't be the person who has tons of ammunition and a realization rate that's low. It will only hurt you. Gone are the boom boom days. Can you make that brighter and shine it directly in my eyes? Thank you. Gone are the boom boom days of 05, 6, 7, 8. I've got one guy who just loves, I remember my first drink. It's exciting. From 5, 6, 7, and 8, you would take an assignment, you would throw it out there, and it would sell because it was an ascending market. You are going to see, thank you. Thank you. You're waiting for a joke, but nothing's coming to mind. We are coming into a down market. You have to be precise. You have to have product that you know is going to sell. So don't take listings for listings' sake. Say no. Walk into a pitch, even though you got a kid going to this camp, and you got to pay for the bungalow in Fallsview, and you got a trip coming to Israel, and there's a bar mitzvah. Say no. Look them in the face and say, I disagree completely. I disagree with you. Mrs. C, I'm dying for the listing, believe me. 25 million times 2.5%, nothing's more important to me. Even though I have shiny suits, I need the money desperately. I live a huge lifestyle. But I'm telling you, if you're not selling below 30, I'm not the right guy for you. Stop talking. Let them speak. Aggressive is good if you're selling cars on 86th Street in Brooklyn. Following up, being pointed, being calculated, bringing data, being aggressive is no good in real estate. And people here are sitting and thinking, really, Schechtman, you know you work at Meridian. Have you met Ralph? If the first star comes up in the sky, his phone lights up on Saturday. And like I was saying Friday before the sun went down, there's aggressive and there's annoying. It's a very important distinction. Contact sport. Let me tell you a quick story about the secret to, thank God, 542 sales worth over $7 billion in 14 years. Contact sport. Monday through Thursday. My wife works full-time. She's a very accomplished, I'm a trophy husband. She's a very accomplished lawyer here in the city. Monday through Thursday, my wife and I are out. Not huge drinkers. We go to every event we possibly could. She in the securities law world, she's smarter than me, and I go to every event on earth. And sometimes my colleagues say to me, Schechtman, you're 44 years old. You're fairly accomplished. Thank God some of your business flows to you. Why are you going to some stupid BizNow event? You're going to be hanging out with a 22-year-old kid who's trying to give you, the sunglasses and is going to tell you, use us. About 8 years ago, I went to an event, some stupid event in the city. 8 o'clock at night, I'm 3 drinks in, and some guy in his early 70s walks up to me. My name is Jack. Hey, how are you? For a split second, I was thinking, come on, man, I want to get out of here. And we're talking, and for 20 minutes, and he's eating, and he's spitting all over me. I was the chairman of this. I'm like, oh, my God, you're killing me. I sat there for 20 minutes. He's actually a fascinating guy. I said, Jack, I love speaking with you. Here's my card. If we could ever do anything. He was semi-retired. I don't want to say I was a mensch. He was a nice guy. I treated him the same way I'd want to treat anybody else, or I'd want to be treated when I'm 70, pushing 80, pushing something along. 70 is 50 these days. 6 months later, I get a phone call from Jack Rosenfeld, and I don't mind using his name. Schechtman, remember me? Yeah, Jack, I'm still trying to clean out the crumbs from my shirt. Schechtman, I'm the interim chairman of Brooklyn Federal Savings Bank. Jeff, remember that bank? Brooklyn Federal Savings Bank. I've been hired to handle the disposition of all 26 real estate loans. I want you to come in and interview for them. So I go in, Jack grabs my hand before we walk into the meeting, and he says to me, "Aren't you glad you were nice to me a few months ago?" I said, "Shit, I was like 6 inches away from just walking out. You were boring me out of my mind." Contact sport is, what's the takeaway? Contact sport. By the way, I went on to sell close to $50 million worth of defaulted mortgages. From those mortgages, I got hired by Bank of China, Capital One, U.S. Bank National Association, and thank God, 2010 through 2014, I sold several $1 billion worth of loans. What is the takeaway? Why do I joke around with Jeffrey Shalom, who is a competitor of mine? Jeffrey and I were co-brokers. I was maybe a year into the business on 86th Street for Avi Ben Dayan. Be nice to everybody. Be nice to everybody at all times. The Alta Caco who you're talking to, or the guy who's selling some ridiculous energy thing in a booth someplace, take their card, put them on your list. When you send your ridiculous Hanukkah gifts for that really junky chocolate that you bought from Pomegranate or whatever it is, send them one. Life is a contact sport, and these are lessons that transcend real estate. I try to explain to my 13-year-old son, my 11-year-old daughter, and my 6-year-old daughter, I don't know how to explain to you guys, but kids who I went to elementary school, who I used to beat the tar out of, I work for them now. My friend David Peretz, East End Capital. I used to play hockey with him in the street. I never liked him. I thought he was a putz. I still do, but I was always nice to him. I probably have $500,000 invested with him, and I've represented him on 6 occasions. David and I had dinner about a year and a half ago. I said, "David, I'm 3 years older than you. What was I like in high school?" He said, "Asshole." I said, "And nothing's changed." I said, "But David, seriously, why have we done business?" He said, "Because you're always courteous, you're always nice, and you knew what you were doing." As brokers, information is paramount. The great thing that I saw that I modeled to this day when Massey Knackle was Massey Knackle and there was a territory system, if I were to say to Jeffrey Shalom now, who covers Bay Ridge and in various other neighborhoods over the course of 30-plus years, if I were to give him an address on Bay Ridge, like Rain Man in his mind's eye, he'd say, under the train trestle, there's a Wendy's, 50 feet in, there's a soccer store, 1866, Resi. You have to know everything about the field in which you're playing. Meridian is great at that. Think of us as mortgage brokers. When I first came to Meridian, I came kicking and screaming. I didn't want to be pigeonholed with the Yidden because I represented so many white guys, so many institutions throughout the country. So 2 weeks before I flew down to Florida in Pesach, before the Yom Tov, in 2015, I flew out to Texas and I spoke with a couple of firms, and I said, "I'm considering going to Meridian." I said, "But before I go to Meridian, I'm very concerned. They're all from, and it seems like even though they do at that time $25, $30 billion, will I be pigeonholed?" And I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. The guy at Lone Star Fund said to me, "Schechtman, you're a broker. You're a sales guy. You're good. We like you. We'll use you." But Meridian's the only people that we use in New York. And this kept repeating itself time and again. You're not going to pigeonhole yourself if you have the best data. When I came to Meridian, I was not only surprised at the fact that there were, mignon every 4 minutes. What I was surprised at is they had proprietary data for information. I can email Mark Simonowitz in my firm and say, "Mark, I was just hired to sell 3.5 acres in Elmhurst. Here's the address. Here's what I need to know." Inside of 24 hours, what we have at Meridian is a dossier on everybody within a quarter square mile. When I walk into a pitch, I drop the schmaltz, I stop joking around, which for me is excruciating, and I revert back to being a lawyer. We joke around and we have a good time at Meridian. We work hard, we play hard, we close. Data is king. Walk into a meeting with somebody and say, "Listen, I know you have a building." I just had it 5 hours ago. I was blown away by one of my junior guys. 117th and 3rd Avenue. The guy wants to sell. I've been in the neighborhood 40 years. I emigrated from Beirut. Trust me, I know more about the buildings. Let me educate you. And I said to him, Jason is his Western name, Arab guy, wonderful guy. I said, Jason, before you start, we've spent a couple of hours. Can we tell you what we've learned? And he sits back. Okay. A, you're interrupting me, but B, tell me what you've learned. We actually showed him receipts from the restaurants around the corner. We gave him a pedestrian count for the corner of 117th and 3rd. We showed him pictures of us standing outside the building at 9 o'clock at night on 117th and 3rd. I had a beer in my hand, which I often do. He laughed. I said, Jason, we want very much to sell your building. It trades in between 9.5 and 10.5. He said, I'm at 12. I don't sell below it. I said, Jason, we're not the right guys for you. I'm a little schmaltzy at 9.5, 10.5. It's worth 8.5. He thought about it on the way here. The guy called me. He said, I'm blown away. Let's ask 13. I'm selling no matter what it is. Let's start working on the 1031. Don't differentiate yourself by being aggressive. Again, and I'm going to repeat myself only because Ralph walked in and he's hiding in the back. Don't look, don't make him self-conscious. Aggressive is good if you're playing baseball or you guys are pushing your way to get to the front when you're davening. Don't be aggressive just for aggressive's sake. Be aggressive when you have something to offer. Be funny when you have the facts first. Press, media, the bane of Meridian's existence. We don't like press. We like closing deals, then reporting our numbers. But as investment sales brokers, there's an old adage that any press is good press, even bad press. That's not true. Intelligent press. Don't announce in the press, here I am, I'm selling XYZ. Announce it after you've closed it. We're happy to report we just closed. We have a very happy buyer. We have a very happy seller. Going back to the beginning, don't ask for anything. At some point after you present your facts and you say to the owner, here's who I am, here's what I know, here's our track record, now I'm looking you in the face. I want very badly to sell this for you, not because I want the $200,000 commission, which is the paramount reason why I'm here. Let's not lie to each other. But I want to sell this for you because I think you're realistic as a seller, and I know I can accomplish this as a service provider. We are service providers, no different than lawyers, no different than accountants. I loathe the moniker salesperson. We're not selling anything when we're doing $20 million transactions. We're advisors, we're intermediaries, and we're brokers. But we have to come with knowledge and data. Can somebody tell me how much time we have left? Okay, apparently we're going to go on ad infinitum. That's fine. I can talk forever, as you know. So, becoming a broker and listing secrets is our topic. How do we differentiate ourselves other than I've got in the door, I've got great information, I'm sitting down with people, I've won them over because I'm honest and I'm knowledgeable. What's next? Don't be a lone wolf. Don't be embarrassed to affiliate with people who are better than you. I very often, when I take a listing, I will defer to Helen Wang, who runs our institutional group. I will defer to our leasing brokers. I'll defer to a 27-year-old in my group if he sold a ton of stuff in Flatbush. Humility. These are all simple lessons. I'll walk in, I'll give the pitch. I'm Dave Schechtman, I've sold this, I've sold that, I kiss Ralph's tuchus, here's what I do, I'm in the real deal, blah, blah, blah. They'll ask a very specific question, I'll answer it. It's okay to say, you know, I'm not sure. But Rich Vallada in my group, and Rich isn't here, I want to conference him in during this pitch. They'll look at you. I'm prepared to answer everything, but the answer is I don't know. So we'll dial in Rich. I'll get him on the cell phone. Dave, Rich, calm down. We're in a pitch. You don't need to say hello. Talk to me about the corner of XYZ. Ah, well, we just sold this, we just sold that, and I just sit back and do this. You've heard the old adage, I know what I know, but I hire people who are smarter than me to do everything else. Even as brokers, I just got hired to, Lippa would kill me, my Lubavitch partner, just got hired to sell a building in the 100 block of East 69th Street in Manhattan. It's a bankruptcy. Manhattan is my prime territory. I've sold several hundred buildings in the city in the past 14 years. We're in the pitch, it's a bankruptcy, we're getting hired. In the middle, open court, federal court, Southern District of New York, where I'm admitted as a lawyer and I'm before a judge who loathes me. I've been in front of him for the Calico bankruptcy. The judge has laced into me over the years. He looks down at me, Mr. Schechtman, do you have an answer? Your Honor, I don't have an answer to that question. In the middle of open court, I made a phone call. And I said, Your Honor, I'm going to make a left turn and it's not in the application. I am the best for this job, but based on the facts that were just presented to me by the city, creditors, and Your Honor, I think it would be best, and I'd like to propose orally, and we'll follow this up in writing, I'd like to hire Jed Garfield, the biggest townhouse broker in New York City. I'd like him to be my co-broker. The judge sits back, and I could hear what's going on in his head. And he leans forward, he says, Schechtman, Mr. Schechtman, what's this all about? Your Honor, I am the best at this, but I want to put on belt and suspenders. I'm willing to forfeit 50% of my fee, not because I have money, but because I want to get this done and I want to be before this court again as the bankruptcies continue. I want to hire Jed Garfield. I want him to be my co-broker. And the fee application, Mr. Schechtman, Your Honor, it'll come out of my pocket. I need to hire experts. Now that I know some of the things that I didn't know previously, I need to make a left turn. The U.S. Marines have a mantra other than Semper Fi. Adapt, change, acknowledge, and I forget the other A's. There's a ton of them because I've had a glass of wine. You need to be malleable. You need to be able to bob and weave as a broker. You need to be able to look people in the face and say, I have bad news for you. I know we're 3 months into the process. The downzoning just happened. Or there are no more air rights in the High Line. I can no longer sell this for $650 a foot. The transfer corridor is done. Here's what I've learned. Be excruciatingly obvious, especially for you younger guys and gals, because as brokers, there's no one single deal. The largest deal I've ever done in my life is $382 million, thank God. Radically changed my life in the sense that I went home and looked at my wife and she's, that's amazing. Got to make cold calls tomorrow. Tough woman from Staten Island. No one check is going to so radically change your life. This is a long game. Ralph looks people in the face all the time and says, I disagree with you. We're not the right people for you. Do that when you feel it in your heart of hearts. I have had adversaries. I have had people on the other side of litigations. I've had people who haven't hired me call me up 6 years later and say, Schechtman, I want to engage you. The first example that I gave you, Mrs. C, never worked for her in my life. She called me 14 years, nearly to the day, when I made a horrible phone call to her, a shaky cold call, because I was honest. And she's seen my track record, thank God, through the years. I'm looking at the organizers. I can do this in 5 more minutes, and I'm starting to see people go for the phones. 5 more minutes, you can hang with me? Let's go to this. What's happening in the market today? Development. If you were to ask me 10 months ago or 12 months ago as a broker, my average deal is about 40 million bucks, and we sell 30 to 50 a year from my desk, and then there's the balance of my team. What kind of assignment would you want 6, 12 months ago? Multifamily. Rates were still hovering around 4. And I'm sorry if there's any Meridian people here, including David Hertzka. I just spilled Coke on myself. You made me very nervous. Rates were hovering around 4. Multifamily was still flying off the shelf, right? That came to a halt just 12 weeks ago. I am sitting on assignments, 408 West 130th Street. I represent Barry Goddard, wonderful guy, Manor Management, if anybody knows him. Barry is the straightest shooter on earth. If I had that sign a year and a half ago, I'd have 31 million. I'm struggling to get 27 million today. Development, redevelopment, commercial, and I'm provincial. I'm the 5 boroughs. Beyond that, I lose my luster. Today, I want anything that has a redevelopment element. We just signed a deal in Summerfield, Ridgefield, Queens, a bankruptcy, $6.5 million. Took 48 hours to sell the deal. It was a $6.3 million strike. We got 6.5. I believe in the next 36 months, we are going to see a sea change in the city of New York. Socialism is here. It's not going anywhere. So you get people like Mrs. C, who has said to me, I have no debt. We've been in the business for 102 years. We're selling into the market. That's a mitzvah. They're selling. I'll run my process. They'll sell. But what about the guy who bought the building for $22 million 4 years ago? He's got 5-year debt. There's no extension options. His game plan was to turn over 8 to 10% of the units and raise rents. That doesn't happen anymore under the new Karl Marx system. Go to that person, sit with them and say, what are you going to do? Let's try to refi. You can't refi? Here's the number at which you're going to sell. I think resi sales are going to grind to a halt. I don't mind saying it publicly. You're going to have 24 months, and most of us are, I'm really doing a number on this suit, most of us are going to grind to a halt. But don't fret. 24 to 36 months ago, you're going to have the greatest thing on earth as real estate brokers. Compulsory sales. People who are going to look at you and say, I'm in maturity default. It's okay, I can keep funding the reserves, but I have to sell. Be honest with them now. Today's multifamily seller who's unrealistic is tomorrow's desperate multifamily seller. The good news, however, is for everything we bring to market, there's still buyers. Travel, find new buyers. There's a multifamily summit at the Adolphus Hotel in Dallas, Texas, 3 days before Tisha B'Av. Go. Go for no reason. Meet 7 people. You are going to see new buyers creep into New York City. I was on the phone with an Austrian fund. Fascinating. Survivors, incredible story. They haven't bought in New York since 2010 when I sold them about $100 million worth of real estate. They call me out of the blue. I do not have their phone numbers. We're back. Why are you guys back? Because Rome is burning. I said, Rome's really not burning so much. They said, we're back. Get new buyers. The buyer is paramount today. Development is still king. Absolutely king. Blank slate. Who here is an investment sales broker other than Jeffrey? Anybody else a sales broker? Don't be afraid. Boy, they really picked the wrong guy to speak, but okay. You walk in and you say to somebody, here's what it's worth, here's what I'm going to sell it for, and they say no to you. Don't fret. In 24 months, they're going to be sellers no matter what. Be patient. I think that these new laws are the greatest opportunity we've seen since 2008 and 2009. Who's heard this old adage? Real estate is money is made on the buy? Be happy that values are going to wane. Because this is the first time that some of the younger folks are going to see a down market. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, plateau, decrescendo. Be happy. The down market is when we can look at ourselves and say, wow, forget about brokering it. I want to cobble the money together and buy this. The down market is not a down market. It's opportunity. Disruption is a great thing. I loathe Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I loathe her politics. I loathe what she says publicly. But when I met her 2 weeks ago in Westchester at a friend's house, I grabbed her hands with my wife standing right by me, ready for me to put my foot in my mouth, which I usually do. And I said, I have to tell you. And she said, I know about you already, Schechtman. My friend Hal Fettner introduced us. She said, I know about you. You're right of right. I said, forget about politics. Ms. Cortez, I'm blown away. You're a disruptor. Whatever you believe in, and it's diametrically opposed to what I believe in. I read Pig Farm. Socialism doesn't work. Our politics are opposite, but I'm in awe of you. You're incredible. And I shook her hand fervently, and I met it. This disruption in the market is the greatest opportunity you've had since 2009. Do not be dismayed and recognize that it's all made on the buy. It's very easy to make money, to be a broker, to get an exclusive, to put on a silly suit and a shiny tie, and throw an exclusive out as the market is ascending. But we're going back to the 80s. brokers are going to be invaluable. There's also going to be a tremendous amount of attrition. How many 25-year-olds are going to have to go home to Lawrence and say, I couldn't do it, Mom. It's fine, Chaim Yankel. Become an accountant. You'll be fine. This brokerage thing was terrible. Remain a broker. Remain focused. Give good information. Be honest about where cap rates are, and be honest about sale. Last point before we wrap up. Who do I work with? I'm a lone wolf. I still marvel when I walk into Rouvain Wolf's offices. You can buy fruit downstairs, and then you go upstairs, you get buzzed through 9 doors, and there you are sitting with a guy who has a significant portfolio. What's special about him? He affiliated with people who are experts. He started as a lone wolf, double entendre, no pun intended, but he's affiliated with people and he has experts who do everything. The reason why I went to Meridian is because they're the best. My game was upped. Get a partner. Whether it's a 27-year-old Latino guy who works on my team, who's Spanish, is casi fluidez, we go places together, open doors, be pleasantly aggressive, get the best data you can, and recognize the down market is the only opportunity that you'll ever have to buy and make real money. Land, development, retail. Retail is not dead. I just sold the corner of East 19th and 5th Avenue in Manhattan. Jeff Sutton gave me a $32 million offer 36 months ago to buy this 2,500 square foot retail box. The owner told me, I'm not sure what it means. Somebody can translate Gay Kakanaf and Yam. I shouldn't bring him in. Don't translate it. She said to me, I'm not sellers. She had some stuff went on in her house. She hired me a year ago. We got $16.7 million for the deal. There was only one bidder. It represented $3,000 a foot in a sub-5 cap. The person who bought it said to me, watch, I have the financial wherewithal to sit for 5 years. I said 5 years from now, it's worth $30 million. Opportunity abounds. What other things should we do as brokers? Don't listen to your friend. Oh, but I went to Moigan David with him. He's a friend. Look how big he is. He's driving. He's got a house in Deal. Don't listen to anybody. Do your own research. New York Post, Commercial Observer, Real Deal. I dare say the Jewish Mess. Read everything you can at all times. Talk to everybody you can at all times. Foot canvas. What is wrong on a Sunday afternoon getting on a train from wherever you guys are, and I'm going to stereotype and say Brooklyn and Lakewood and West Orange and the 5 towns, grab your kids, put them in the stroller, take your Nissan whatever and park, spend an hour and a half walking around the neighborhood. Every other Sunday, my 3 children, my wife, and I foot canvass the neighborhood. You still are real estate people. It's wonderful to use Google Earth, but Ralph, who just walked in, still touches buildings from time to time. Granted, he's usually flying over them or being driven past them, but he looks at the buildings. You must touch the real estate. You must know the neighborhood. You must know about the pizza place next door. Touch the real estate. Recognize that opportunity abounds. There's an organizer in here somewhere. What do we got, 2 minutes? Let's go 2 more minutes. So what's happening in the market today? Debt remains low. Values are falling, but buyers are out there. Be able to turn your Rolodex upside down. 2 minutes, thank you. Where were you 8 minutes ago? We were looking at one of my closest friends on earth, 1 minute. One of my closest friends on earth runs Westbrook Partners. I've done, thank God, 22 deals with them since 2005. They used to be at the top of my list. When the market turns and we come into a market like this where people can't get high teen returns and be in and out of a deal in 3 years, and we're going back to old school real estate where you have to buy and hold for 5 to 7 years, Matt and Sush is gone. They're at the bottom of my list. Go back to the families. Make sure that you keep up to date with all of your contacts. And it's a contact sport. Be out every night. Real estate is not a 50 or 60 hour a week sport. It's a lifestyle. And make sure you enjoy it. The last thought that I'll leave you with is very simple. I was a 5th-year lawyer. I was at a hoo-ha law firm. And as usual, I was very proud of myself. I was forced to go to a speech by the head of the ACLU, what I thought was a loathsome organization. And David, his last name escapes me, this was the guy who defended Kunstler was there, and El Sayed Nosair, who killed Meir Kahane of blessed memory. Their lawyers were sitting there. They were the heads of the ACLU, and I'm sitting there with my arms crossed thinking, God, I hate being here. But they looked at us in the crowd and said, many of you are here tonight because you're from a big firm and you need to fulfill your pro bono requirement. How many of you like what you do? And I was thinking to myself, well, I hate what I do, but I'm making a lot of money as a young guy in my late 20s. If you don't at least like what you do, or I dare say love what you do, switch careers. This is not a vocation. It's a lifestyle. My wife and I don't complain when we're on our phones on Saturday nights or Sunday while the kids are at the pool, or she says to me, I have a conference call, or I say, I got another call. It's not work. You hear all these athletes and the women who just won the World Cup for the U.S. That's not work. When I was practicing law, I went to a hockey game, and I remember the hockey players came out to music, and they were full of adrenaline, I was thinking, and they get paid millions for this. That's how I feel about real estate. I know Ralph feels that way today, and so do his partners, and most of the people with whom I work. Make sure you love what you do. We're very spoiled. Opportunity abounds. The next 3 years are going to be 3 of the best years of our lives, God willing. I'm here for any questions. Thank you for your time.